An awkward night for Blake Lively, who was seen rambling awkwardly on stage, as well as staging a clear fake photo op with autograph hounds as fans. And Ryan Reynolds is still being called out as rude, including a new post from someone who said he bullied them as a child. It seems the Hollywood Mr. Nice Guy image is finally breaking down.
That Blake Lively's legal team fighting Justin Baldoni has direct ties to Jeffrey Epstein's victims. And what if I told you this connection might actually backfire spectacularly? Hey everyone, before we dive into this rabbit hole that's going to blow your mind, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because this story has more twists than a Hollywood thriller. Trust me, you're going to want to stay until the end for this one. Here's what happened. I was following the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni drama like everyone else when I stumbled across something that made my jaw drop. The attorney representing Blake Lively isn't just any lawyer. She's Sigrid McCauley, the same attorney who represented Virginia Roberts, one of Jeffrey Epstein's most vocal survivors. Now, before you think this is just a coincidence, let me walk you through why this connection is either the most brilliant PR strategy ever conceived or the most tone-deaf legal move in recent memory. Let me paint you a picture of what's really happening here. Sigrid McCauley works for the law firm Boyce Schiller and Flexner. This isn't just any law firm. This is the powerhouse that represented multiple Epstein survivors in their fight for justice. But here's where it gets interesting. Virginia Roberts, who tragically passed away in April, was one of Epstein's most outspoken survivors. She met Epstein at 17 while working at Mar-a-Lago. Maxwell recruited her, and the rest became a horrific chapter in history. Roberts publicly named Prince Andrew, sued him, and got a settlement. She also went after Maxwell and the Epstein estate. And her lawyer? Sigrid McCauley. Now McCauley is representing Blake Lively in her motion against Justin Baldoni. When I realized this connection, something clicked. If you're Blake Lively, and you want to appear like you're in the same category as women who've been genuinely harmed by powerful men, what better way than hiring the attorney known for protecting victims?
She admitted she doesn't like filming videos of herself or TikTok in the bathroom. And the one she made before she posted, it's true because it's a bathroom product. So you got to do it in the bathroom. And she refuses to post things in the bathroom. So maybe don't launch a beauty care line. Anyway, here's a clip. I apologize. The audio is very low. I'll try to boost it as I'm talking, but you might need to boost yours up, your speakers. Here's some of the awkwardness.
But it makes sense because in this industry, when you play, and I've met a lot of people, actors who are incredibly shy in real life, you would think are very, big personalities. But it makes sense because when we play a character, we escape into someone else, and that's the way in which we, step outside of ourselves. So as someone who's very shy and very, personal, it is strange to make a video of yourself in your bathroom. Like, it doesn't totally make sense to me. I made so many more videos than I could ever post because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so shy. That one is so weird. So that one I posted, but I made it like a couple months before I posted it because I was just too, I was like, I can't do this. I'm in my bathroom. This is too intimate. But anyway, I finally did it. But I used all Blake Brown products, except I was using Element hairspray because we hadn't created our hairspray yet. And that was one of the few products. Sorry, I inhaled dust or something, but thankfully I have this really good matcha right here.
She inhaled dust or something. Oh my God.
It's like borrowing credibility by association. You align yourself with the same legal team that fought for trafficking survivors, and suddenly you look like a victim yourself. But here's what struck me as deeply problematic about this strategy. Let's talk about who Jeffrey Epstein actually targeted, because this contrast is crucial to understanding why Blake's attorney choice feels so wrong. Epstein and Maxwell deliberately preyed on economically disadvantaged girls from West Palm Beach. These were teenagers from economically depressed areas, many of whom were homeless or came from broken homes. Some had already survived abuse as children, which made them more vulnerable to manipulation. These predators specifically targeted girls who needed money desperately. A $200 massage seemed like easy money when you're struggling to survive. These victims had no resources, no powerful connections, no safety net. Now let's contrast that with Blake Lively's situation. Blake is married to Ryan Reynolds, who's connected to over $15 billion in business deals. While Reynolds isn't a billionaire himself, he's made hundreds of millions from selling his various companies. Blake has access to unlimited legal resources, industry connections, and financial power. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Blake Lively has more in common with the power structure that enabled Epstein than she does with his victims. She's part of the wealthy elite, not the vulnerable teenagers who were exploited. When Blake told Meghan Trainor that her experience on the It Ends With Us set wasn't even the worst she's had with producers and directors, it made me wonder if this was just another bad Hollywood experience for her. Why is she using attorneys known for representing trafficking victims? Now, let's talk about something that made my stomach turn: the money these law firms made from representing Epstein's victims. Macaulay's firm, Boyce, Schiller and Flexner, won massive settlements against J.P. Morgan Chase and Deutsche Bank, the banks that processed Epstein's money and enabled his crimes. The judge approved a 30% fee award for the attorneys, totaling $87 million from the J.P. Morgan settlement alone. They reached a similar settlement with Deutsche Bank for $75 million, with the lawyers taking another $22.5 million in fees. Do the math. That's $109 million the law firm walked away with. Now, I understand contingency fees. These attorneys worked for years without payment, taking on powerful institutions. But here's what bothers me. They put out press releases bragging about their $109 million payday while representing women whose trauma will never be healed by money. We've seen the lasting damage. Some survivors have ended their own lives due to the trauma. Others struggle with substance abuse and incarceration, unable to cope with what they endured. Money doesn't fix that kind of damage. So when I see this same law firm now representing Leslie Sloan, Blake's publicist, and requesting $1.3 million in attorney fees for just 6 months of work, I have to ask, what's the real motivation here? But wait, it gets worse. Remember Leslie Sloan, Blake's publicist, who's also using the same law firm? Here's a connection that'll make your skin crawl. Leslie's company, Vision PR, was funded by Harvey Weinstein when she started her own firm. Weinstein was her financial backer. She was literally Harvey's publicist, representing him and his associates who were later sued by assault victims. And get this, Weinstein and Epstein were friends. They tried to buy a magazine together in 2003 and were seen together publicly in 2006. Birds of a feather, right? Now here's the really twisted part. The same law firm that's representing Blake Lively and Leslie Sloan, Boyce, Schiller and Flexner, also represented Harvey Weinstein. They were accused of hiring private investigators to spy on Weinstein's alleged victims and the journalists investigating the sexual assault allegations. This got so bad that the New York Times, which was also a client of this firm, cut ties with them entirely. The firm was literally attacking victims while simultaneously representing other victims in different cases. In 2021, a mass exodus of attorneys left the firm because they were disgusted by the firm's representation of Harvey Weinstein and Elizabeth Holmes. These lawyers publicly stated their dissatisfaction with defending convicted rapists and fraudsters. So let me get this straight. Blake is using a law firm that attacked Weinstein's victims to represent her, while trying to gain credibility through their work with Epstein survivors. The hypocrisy is staggering. From a legal strategy standpoint, what is Blake's team actually trying to accomplish here? Because this could backfire spectacularly. By hiring Macaulay, Blake is essentially saying, I deserve the same legal representation as trafficking victims. But here's the problem. The public isn't stupid. People can see the difference between a privileged Hollywood actress having workplace disputes and vulnerable teenagers being trafficked by billionaire predators. This strategy only works if people don't dig deeper into the connections. But once you see that the same firm defended Weinstein while attacking his victims, the whole narrative crumbles. And here's another risk. This law firm has been criticized for inflating fees and playing both sides. They help powerful men cover up scandals while simultaneously representing victims. That's not principled advocacy. That's opportunistic legal work. If Blake's case goes to trial, opposing counsel could absolutely use these connections against her. Your Honor, the plaintiff is using attorneys known for defending sexual predators while claiming victimhood status. That's not a good look. What do you think? Is this strategic brilliance or a PR disaster waiting to happen? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The public reaction to this revelation has been fascinating. Social media is lighting up with people calling out the tone-deaf nature of Blake's legal strategy. Think about it from the perspective of actual trafficking survivors. How does it feel to see a millionaire actress co-opting the narrative of your trauma for a Hollywood dispute? How does it feel to see the same attorneys who made millions from your suffering now representing someone whose biggest complaint is bad press? Blake's marriage to Ryan Reynolds is also taking hits. Reynolds has stayed quiet throughout this controversy, but his silence is becoming deafening. His brand is built on being the likable, relatable guy, but being married to someone making these kinds of moves damages that image. And let's talk about the impact on their careers. Blake hasn't had a major film role since It Ends With Us, and this controversy isn't helping. Studios are risk-averse, and actors who bring baggage aren't worth the headache. Reynolds might be insulated by his business success, but Hollywood has a long memory. The whispers about Blake's behavior, combined with these tone-deaf legal moves, create a toxic cloud around both of them. This isn't just about one lawsuit anymore. This is about their entire public image and future earning potential. Here's my take on what's really happening. Blake Lively and her team fundamentally misunderstood the assignment. They thought they could borrow credibility by associating with attorneys known for victim advocacy. But they failed to consider that those same attorneys have a history of defending the exact type of powerful men who abuse that system. This feels like reputation laundering, trying to clean up Blake's image by association with legitimate victims. But it's backfiring because the connections are too obvious and too hypocritical. Leslie Sloan's involvement makes it even worse. She's connected to Weinstein, who is connected to Epstein, and now she's using Weinstein's attorneys while hiding behind Epstein victim advocates. It's a house of cards built on the suffering of others. I think Blake's team got so focused on winning the legal battle that they forgot about the court of public opinion. And in Hollywood, public perception matters more than legal victories. Could this all blow over? Maybe. But once people start connecting these dots, it's hard to unsee the pattern. Blake wanted to be seen as a victim, but instead, she's being seen as someone who exploits real victims for her own benefit. What's your take on this whole mess? Do you think Blake's legal strategy will backfire, or am I reading too much into these connections? Are these attorneys just doing their job, or is there something more calculated happening here? But more importantly, what does this say about how Hollywood treats real victims? When millionaire actresses can hire trafficking victim lawyers for workplace disputes, have we completely lost the plot? I want to hear from you, especially if you disagree with my analysis. Maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe these are just coincidences. But when you have this many connections between Epstein, Weinstein, and Blake's legal team, it starts to look like a pattern rather than random chance. This story isn't over. Blake's lawsuit against Justin Baldoni is still ongoing, and I have a feeling more connections are going to surface. The entertainment industry's web of enablers, fixers, and reputation launderers runs deep, and this case is just the tip of the iceberg. If this deep dive opened your eyes to something new, smash that like button and subscribe for more content that connects the dots the mainstream media won't touch. I spend hours researching these connections, so you don't have to. And seriously, drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and some of you have insights that completely change how I see these stories. Thanks for sticking with me through this complex web of connections. This is exactly the kind of story that gets buried because it implicates too many powerful people. But that's precisely why we need to keep talking about it. Until next time, keep questioning everything, especially when millionaires try to cosplay as victims. Remember to hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. We're just getting started uncovering these Hollywood connections that nobody wants you to see. The rabbit hole goes much deeper than this, and I promise you, the next revelation is going to blow your mind even more.